Is your Boerboel digging all the time and you don't really know what to do about it? Well, we have the perfect video for you. Welcome back to the Fenrir Boerboel Show. My name's Joe and I'm a certified canine leader here at FenrirCanineLeaders.com. We are dedicated to helping you learn everything you could possibly want to know about the Boerboel and then how to become a high-level canine leader so you can raise your very own. So if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a future upload. If your Boerboel is digging all the time and you're a bit unsure of what to do, well, we have the perfect video for you today as we're going to be tuning into a webinar that the canine behaviorist and founder of FenrirCanineLeaders.com, Will, has recorded all about how to stop your dog digging.
Hey guys, welcome to another really quick fire webinar breakdown of a very common problem behavior that whether you're working as a canine professional with clients or you yourself are trying to become a high level leader for your companion dog at home, and that is around digging. And we're going to break down the implementation of the strategies and the behavior modification plans that I utilize to be able to correct digging behaviors and be able to have people have dogs that aren't destroying their gardens every single day. So let's dive into the webinar and we're going to get some really good information that I promise you're going to be able to use at home with your dogs or your clients. Now, as is always the case with any problem behaviors that we may have with our dogs, we need to not only just to put a plaster on the problem, but we need to get to the root cause of the issue. And with digging, we need to look at what is it that's causing digging. Now, we have to have a little bit of empathy for dogs because digging is a very normal behavior that dogs will display. Now, obviously, as a good leader, we need to be able to teach them when that is appropriate and when it isn't. And usually in your garden, that isn't appropriate. If we go out for a lovely walk in the woods and you want to dig a hole, cool. If we go to the beach, you want to do some digging, okay, cool. But if I tell you we're not doing that in the home or in the garden, then you need to listen to me because I am the leader, I am in charge, and I set the rules, boundaries, and expectations in this family environment. So that's what we need to be able to get to with our dogs. Now, when it comes to digging, a lot of the time that digging is a result of too much pent-up frustration in terms of physical energy and mental stimulation. And they haven't got a productive outlet for both of those things. So the first thing we always start off with a vast majority of behavior problems, not just digging, but we can always achieve higher levels of success simply by putting in more exercise, more mental stimulation. Exercise is obvious. We can go out and play frisbee, we can go out and play fetch, we can go for a walk, we can do some running, we can teach a dog to run alongside a bike. The options are truly endless. When it comes to exercising our dogs physically, mental stimulation can require a little bit more creativity, but there's tons of different puzzles out there. You can get frozen Kongs, any kind of obedience work, agility, getting your dog into doing just any kind of work with you is fantastic, especially for working breeds. So we're going to add in more mental stimulation, more physical exercise, and you will be shocked at the amount of times that alone will address the problem of digging, because the root cause, rather than sticking a plaster on it, the root cause was simply that they're bored and frustrated. So let's start there. If that doesn't work, you've done that and you're still seeing these problems, then we get to move on to the more behavior modification, the fancy stuff that people like to hear when it comes to kind of these intervention strategies. So then when it comes to digging is a funny one in the canine behavior world. It's not something that can be addressed as easy as, say, reactivity or excessive barking, because first of all, there's a few different things that come up with problems. Supervision, being able to ensure that we're watching the dog. To be able to correct the behavior, we need to be able to implement fantastic timing. So the strategies we use are going to be a little bit different when it comes to digging. But regardless of the strategy that we use for any behavior problem, we absolutely first, again, must address the relationship that the dog has with its owner. Now, whether that's the dog with you as an owner and you're trying to become a higher level owner, or maybe you're watching this because you're thinking about taking first steps into maybe doing this for a living. You cannot come in and simply say, this is what you should do, see you later. Or watch me do it, I'm going to do it. Oh, awesome, that worked. Do what I did, see you later. That worked because you were able to come in and establish a good relationship with the dog very quickly through your higher levels of leadership skills. The owner then watches that, tries to replicate it without that level of relationship, and things just fall apart. That's no use to anybody. We have to be able to teach the owner how to become a high level canine leader, restructure that relationship so that the dog sees them as the leader, and we'll look to them for guidance and direction. When we get to that point, then implementing the modification programs, correction-based programs, positive reinforcement-based programs, that becomes so much easier, because when you have that relationship, asking a dog what you do want from it is much easier, and asking your dog to stop doing something is then also much easier. So we must address that. At Fenrir, we use our bootcamp process. There'll be a link to the online version of that down in the description box below if you want to go and check that out. But that bootcamp process is very specifically, I designed it to not only be the 1 month process of being able to really put in those rules, boundaries and expectations to restructure that relationship, but inherently it then also teaches the owner how to be a high level canine leader. It teaches them the theory and the understanding required for them to be a high level canine leader. So not only do they come out of the other end with the desired outcome of that restructured relationship, but on top of that, they have learned to become a high level leader that can then address any future problems, which then means they don't need me again as a canine behaviorist, which is the ultimate goal of any canine behaviorist. It isn't to put a plaster on things, it's to help the owners not need us again. If you can do that, then I promise you'll have a lot of success in this industry. Hey guys, really quick message. I just wanted to let you know that we have a completely free course called The Principles to the Perfect Puppy. It's where I've boiled down and condensed all of my skill set, experience and knowledge in raising perfect puppies into this mini course. Like I say, it is completely free. If you are interested in checking it out or just want some more information, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you are interested, I can't wait to speak to you over there as well. So what we need to do is be able to help them restructure that relationship. Again, we use our Canine Bootcamp to be able to do that. Once we've got through that process, like exercise, you will be surprised that simply going through that process will address. So if exercise might address 60% of cases, restructuring the relationship might address another 30% of cases. So just simply going through, and by the way, we put a lot of exercise structure into the bootcamp for that reason. Again, not only to restructure the relationship, not only to help our owners become high-level canine leaders, but also to give them an opportunity to put a lot more exercise in, because again, we know that through thousands of cases that 95% of these cases will be addressed simply by doing that, which then leaves us this last little bit, which is where we then might need to get a little bit more creative in terms of an actual structured behavior modification program. Now, this is usually where I jump into correcting the behavior, but when it comes to digging, I want you to take more of a process of managing and correcting the behavior. Part of being a good leader is about setting our dogs up for success, not setting them up to fail. So if this behavior is happening when you go out and you leave your dog with free access to the garden, stop leaving them with free access to the garden. That solves your problem. It puts a plaster over it, which I know I've talked about not being what we're doing, but this is a management strategy whilst we're going through these bootcamp processes, whilst we're going through the strategies in terms of actually fixing this problem behavior. But by doing that, you're going to set your dog up for success, and setting our dogs up for success is always what we're looking to do. So if you cannot supervise, manage the environment. Stop giving them access to the problem areas, whether that's by utilizing crates, pens, adding new fences, barricading things off. If you cannot manage the environment while we're going through this process, then if you can't be with your dog and supervise them the whole time while we're going through this process, then manage the environment while we're doing so. So start by managing the behavior, then we go on to correcting and addressing the behavior. So we've sorted the root cause, exercise, restructure relationship. Now we can get into actually addressing that in particular small part that is the problem behavior of digging. Correct, redirect, reinforce. There we go, done. I'm going to go into a bit more detail, don't worry, but that is as simple as it is. Too many people make these concepts of canine behavior remodification far more complicated than they need to be. And the reason why people have other behaviorists or other, in particular, positive only approaches don't necessarily work is because, first of all, they don't address those first two pieces of the puzzle. And then they simply try and put plasters on the problem and it doesn't really work. But because you've put those efforts in, this bit will work. So we simply need to correct, redirect, reinforce. So when the dog, again, when we can supervise, if we can't, we've managed the environment so that they can't do it in the first place. But okay, now we can be here. We know this is where the dog does this problem behavior we're trying to solve. We're now going to give them access to it. When the dog starts digging, we're going to go in with a verbal correction. Shoulders back, chest up, deep voice, vocal inflection is very important. There's going to be a very stern or a no. And we're going to save that vocal inflection and that verbal correction. We're not going to use it much, but we're going to save it for situations like this where it can really carry some weight. The more work you put into restructuring the relationship in the second part of the process, then the faster, quicker, more effective this verbal correction will be. So the dog is about to start digging and no, snaps them out of it really quickly. So we get their attention back to us, then we redirect them to the behaviour that we do want, which can be absolutely anything that you deem to be positive, whether that's to come and do some obedience work with you, whether that's to go into a sit and stay, whether that's you then throw a ball for them. We correct the negative behaviour, we redirect them to a desirable one, and then when they're displaying those desirable behaviours, we reinforce. So again, correct, redirect, reinforce. It really isn't that rocket science when it comes to digging in particular. It's not an aggressive behaviour, it's just an annoying one. So going through this process in a very positive based way, yes, we're utilising corrections, but we're going to stick with verbal corrections, and we're going to make sure that we do everything we can do in our power to set our dogs up for success. You go through that process and digging becomes a very easy problem to get on top of. It really does. The problem is people want you to come in and in a 30-minute consultation with no effort on the owner's part be able to address the situation, and that simply won't work. It doesn't work, and anybody saying that something like that does work is wrong. And they're probably trying to sell you something that doesn't work. Yes, we suggest you going through our bootcamp process, but that's simply a structure that we've put in place to help you achieve the hard part of the restructuring the relationship as easily and efficiently as possible with high levels of success. Add more exercise in, add more mental stimulation in, become a high-level canine leader and restructure your relationship with your dog, then be able to communicate with your dog what you don't want through correction, what you do want through redirection and reinforcement. The principle is simple. The implementation requires effort and discipline on your side if you're an owner or helping your client see that, and for them to be willing to put the effort in. If they are, you will have a fantastic dog. If they're not, that you won't. Unfortunately, it really is as simple as that, and that's what we're trying to help people understand. First and foremost, before they get a dog, are you willing to do this? If not, you shouldn't get a dog. Unfortunately, for those people that do, we then need to find a way of being able to convince them to be able to change their lifestyle and mentality, to be able to put the effort in that is required to ensure that we're keeping these dogs out of shelters and not being put down. So go through that process, and I promise you'll have a lot of success with digging. It's not rocket science, it's just a little bit of discipline and hard work.
There you have it, guys. Some really useful tips and tricks to stop your Boerboel from digging. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, get involved in the comments down below, as we would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell, as we have 3 dedicated videos coming out every single week, so I can't wait to see you in the next episode of the Fenrir Boerboel Show.